Hello, it's NINJADAN. Today we're going to take a look at the decoration of popular upcoming top 1 extreme demon, Silent Acropolis by the Purgatory. So I'm not exactly very used to art style decoration work, so this is going to be a first for me. I'm going to be learning a lot, and you might do too. So we've got this, which is one solid object, which I think we can break down by doing that with the list controls. Yeah, okay. And these stones here, they look to have some sort of transparency to them, but from what I understand, that stone is basically just one of these, but it's on a funny angle. And there's just lots of those on funny angles. What are these? Oh, just lots and lots of those little edge pieces from this menu. I guess that's what makes up this dead tree? Oh no, it looks like some of these pieces. And I'm sure I saw a flower in there as well. Like, yeah, here, there's just a random flower. You can't really see it because of the background, but those are like a whole bunch of flowers to create a bush almost. Oh, there are lots of layers to this thing here. Many layers. Oh man, I'm gonna have to break down that tree as well. There's so much going on that tree. Okay, on layer 1, it looks like basically just a whole bunch of rocks, smaller rocks, some of these in a seemingly random combination, 2.1 finger dash parts, yeah, and just all along here as well. It's the same thing, just lots of stuff in seemingly random places. And then the next layer we have basically the same thing, but just more and in different places. And I guess you could sort of say it creates a kind of depth, because that part there looks further out than this part, which I guess is on another layer. On the top of the first layer you put some grass or something, and then here you got these really big leaf objects, these ones. I guess this is meant to create a sort of moss, a general moss over things. And then here we've got these, and that's creating a lot of the grass look. And then as for the grass blades, what do we have here? We have one of these pieces, which I think is, yeah, it is. It's one of these. The idea of these blocks is you're meant to have like a block like this, stick this on top of it like so, and then it creates like a grassy sort of look. And they're like sort of variations of this block, this and that, for like, you know, smaller blocks. But I guess because of this shape, it does kind of work as a grass blade, and based on the detailing, and if we go like that, then it creates a sort of tip on the top, and that's why we've got that texturing up there. And then that, I think, is to just create extra texturing inside that grass blade. And then just a whole bunch of those copy pasted along. And then we have just some traditional grass objects from this menu. Some more of these circles. And then the same grass blocks, but just larger and more transparent. And then these. But I guess that's meant to be the outline of where the actual hitboxes are. Oh, and that's that piece from before that I mentioned. That's meant to be like the grass on top of a block, but they put it inside that to create some highlights. And then this is just some glow, adding some red there. And then we've got some even thinner outlines for perhaps fireflies. And I remember in Bop's tutorial video on like making art decoration, he mentioned like a paint object or something like that, which is what art decorators use. And that's what this is right here, they're paint objects. Along the side here, I think this is for the purpose of lighting of all things, to try and get some reflection off the side of the object right here. And I'd say, yeah, it works from a distance, especially because, you know, this is the orb, and then the orb is the light source, and therefore it's reflecting onto these two blocks, which is why those blue paint objects are there in the first place. And yeah, I think this is for the dirt. So once again, we've got those circles and these, yeah. We've actually got even more lighting outlines on here, because we've got the red from the lantern that's reflecting onto the rocks, and this looks to be, yeah, once again a paint object that's creating that glow. Anyway, back to this block with this tree, because this is something I'm interested to break down, is how this tree works. On the outside, it looks like we're using these edge objects from here again, and also some of these objects, and then through the middle, however, these objects, which I'm certain come from the 3D line menu, and I guess that breaks up the texture from the outside of the tree versus the inside. And then at the edges we have these. And then as for the leaves, we've just got a whole lot of these rocks creating a sort of bush-like shape. And then on top of that we have clouds and rocks. And then outlining the clouds and rocks we have slopes. That's the entire tree. Now let's take a look at this final part of Valkarie Master's part. Castle part of the Acropolis. Hey, look at that, it's Valkarie Master's logo. Oh my. That's a lot of textures. I would never expect someone to use lava textures for this area, but it does work. These lava textures from Fingerdash. In fact, it's the same lava texture most of the time. It's actually pretty much every texture. Every single texture is just thrown on here, and it works. And then the next layer we have rubble, I guess. Rubble made of, yeah, assorted Fingerdash textures. And then this is our bush or moss that, you know, covers some parts of this. Yes, very, very faint. Like, this is the layer that it exists on, and you can still hardly see it. And then this is our basic glow. There isn't even any corner glow. It's just straight flat glow. And yeah, once again, it's our circles for the leaves or what have you. Little shoots of something made from the same thing as back there. Okay, now this is interesting. This looks to be made out of these two paint objects, and then we've got one of these squiggly things, which are meant to go around the Fingerdash objects once again. It kind of looks like they're taking bits from Fingerdash objects that like best suit their case and then put them in the right places. So this is a straight up generic spike, but they've covered it in these little block cover grass objects here in order to like texturize them more. Let me guess, this is just made out of simple slopes. Yep, block, block, slope, 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 slope. Yeah, this is exactly as I expected. And here's the glow on the orbs. How large is this glow? Quite large. If you want the light from a certain thing to reflect onto other structures, you have to make the glow from that light source like massively exaggerated, and that's exactly what's happening here. Because as you can see, we've got some reflections on here, and because these are straight objects and they're not, you know, curvy and like rough, like outside here, they're not going to use the paint object. Instead, they're going to use faded lines. In fact, oh wait, it is multiple. This is multiple faded lines. They're just connected. So it's like a smaller faded line on top of a faded line on top of a faded line. So we've got all these colors along here, and let me guess, they're the same color, but the HSV has changed. Yep, I appear to be right. It's the same thing, but the brightness and the saturation hue just keeps changing. And then we've got the outer glow, and then we've got some random bricks and stuff on the outside, and in total it makes this. It's got some, like this creator I've noticed seems to be really good at lighting objects. Actually, let's take a look at these candles up here. How are these done? Yep, lots of the same slope object. I mean the same block grass object. More block grass. And that's glow inside of a solid object. That's a paint object. It's a grass object. Actually, that's really kind of complex. Wow. Okay, I'm just gonna put that back to look at that again. Too complex for me. Okay, this looks like the base outlining of where all the wooden planks and stuff go. Actually, how does this work? Oh right, it's just one of these blocks here, but like with another one copy pasted inside of it. We have, because this is like the general outline of the wooden parts of the block, and then this is the actual texture inside the block. So we've got those realistic kind of wood looking blocks from in these, and then we've got some just generic bricks, and then we have the more complex bricks from here. And then with this arch here, you've basically just gotten a block and then stuck just blocks around that block. And then once again, this is that one side of the grass object. It seems like art creators really love this object. This must be where our bats are. What are our bats made of? I probably don't want to know, do I? Right, they're just made out of like lots of really tiny objects, but mostly that side of the grass block. Actually, I didn't see that. There are even more textures here. This is just that cracked texture. And then on this one, we've got spikes on top of the skulls. Okay, here's where we're starting to get some of the glow. There's actually a lot of paint objects around here. I'm not sure why, because it doesn't really look like they're doing anything, and same with these fading lines here that I can't see, although maybe they activate on pulses. Oh, they do, yeah, they do activate on pulses, so I'll stay there. Ah, I see, so the paint objects are basically creating like just some subtle glow around the edges of this already existing glow. And then here we've just got some faded lines and some inner glow. There's lots of glow around that skull though, lots of faded lines on top of each other there. And as for the cross, it's just one of those 1.9 design blocks. And then here we've just got extra glow on the cross. And yes, mostly just glow inside glow, probably with different HSVs. And then we just got dark glow on top of the, well, underneath the skulls. Lots of glow work in this section. And here's the spider webs, which are made out of basic lines, mostly. Oh, it keeps going, it keeps going. You added 3D to the bricks that already exist with paint objects? That's crazy. And I guess that's just extra light for the embers or whatever. Some blue for the pads. And this would be the background stuff. Giant pillars that go past in the back, and then these parts that go past in the back, and all the shadows, I guess. And then just atmospheric glow in the back, the pillars, glow beams? Really? Trees? Which I think are just made out of lots of little sticks. Yep, I'm totally right, they're just made of lots of little sticks. This person didn't stop adding stuff to this, his part. Wow. I think I'll specifically look over here because there's a lot of glow plus more detailed structuring. So on the first layer we have basically the spikes, which have some paint objects underneath them, which I don't exactly know why they're there. As for the spikes themselves, they appear to be made out of arrow plus spike. Wow, that's actually incredibly simple. And then glow, or at least that's one of them. Let's take a look at, this just looks like tip glow. And then there's our generic spike. More glow. So much glow. So they got the circular glow on the outside, and then they got the pointed glow on the tip for the tip, and then that's just a brick probably, and then that's one of those 1.9 fake spike things. Our next layer we have the original layout, and here we have just one random block grass. Oh no, we've got some more up here. Just some parts for the edges, I guess. A lot going on here. Okay, so we've got low transparency bricks here. Behind that, there's some higher transparency bricks that are blocked by the lower transparency bricks in order to create this pillar. And then these are two rocks, and then that's a skull. And on top of the skull, there are a whole lot of those edge pieces connected together to create the pirate bandana, I guess. And then there's glow on... No, there isn't even glow on the pirate bandana. That's just the detail section of those grass bits. And then as for the wings, are just more rocks. And then this upper pillar part is made from the same stuff as that lower opacity bricks, but just they're more visible because the lower opacity bricks aren't covering them. And then we've got that cracked texture just on top of that, and then that's what's going on for the outlining all along here. Just the same idea. And then as for our next layer, we have a whole lot of glow. Lots of glow. Yeah, I think these are really low opacity wood textures from here. And then they're made highlighted to look like these bricks essentially by the glow. And then here we just have a heck of a lot of grass, moss style textures. And a pillar which appears to be made out of just all glow. Just all black glow along here. Or grey glow at least. And then there's grass textures put on the top. And then that's made to look like that's a whole grass texture there, but it's not, because this is actually the grass texture. And that is once again just a really large wood texture. And we've got all these bones made out of basically lines and circles. Oh, this is the outlining glow on the skeleton. I wanted to know how this worked. It's just all paint objects. It's all paint objects. Wow. And then along here for more glow texture, we've just got even more paint objects. And then we just got more glow objects. Even more textures. There's just so many textures on like incredibly low opacities just thrown everywhere. And this must be our dark outline that separates the structures from themselves. And that's pretty much it, apart from the chains, which are basically chains on top of chains with like different colors. Yeah, and apparently this whole part was made in one day. 8 hours total to make this to that. It's crazy. I'm starting to learn art design decoration, and it took me like 5 hours just to do a single skull, just to get that right. I'm going to specifically take a look at this section, because this is the part that everyone knows and loves. On our first layer we have a massive glow beam, along with some corner glow on each of the things that are affected by the glow beam. On the next layer we have all of our cracked blocks along with some other stuff. Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense considering, yeah, I guess you can faintly kind of see that curved ring on under here as well. And then on here we have more cracked textures. Huh, cracked textures on top of cracked textures. Then we have these lines here that they might be shadows? No, they just act as more cracks, even more cracks. And then here we have the outlinings of the monster. Once again, those cornered blocks that are used as block moss. And that's, I guess, to get the shape. And then here we've got even more corner glow, faded line glow. And once again, it's the whole idea that you have multiple faded lines on top of each other with different HSVs. And then you got some over here because there's a candle, because you've got to get the light from the candle. And then here we've got some paint objects. It had some brown on the monster here. And then even more glow objects up here. And then we got the inner area with the teeth. Once again, the same moss block object, just copy pasted over like 100 times, like on top of itself, for like all the horns and teeth and everything. And faded lines underneath, faded lines, more cracks. We've got two different colored lines here. This one is slightly darker than the other one because this is in shadow from this part. And then we've got the circle with like the window. And then the eyes, which are fire object and I was gonna say a bazillion pieces of glow inside it, but sure, there are a few, but it's actually mostly paint objects. And then there's paint objects on the spines, on the outer spikes, and then paint objects around the eyes as well to create the general idea on where those eyes are. And then of course, and another thing that I expected to see was these corner glow pieces just on top of the teeth. And then we've got some of these again on the inside of these blocks. And then just even more of them, but red, on the outside here. And then these are our runes, even more corner glow. And then the wooden textures, and the darker glow underneath. Even more, I guess, like dripping moss or something. And then this is generic atmospheric laser glow. Particles, very low opacity clouds. Oh no, they're not even that low opacity. I think those objects in general are just creating the fog. And then we've got even more glow up here. And then some extra glow on the eyes. And then as for these trees, they are pretty much made of line objects with a little extra. And then these are just literally made of fading lines. And those general wood objects. Yeah, these. The signpost. I don't know why all those are there. Why has this got 66 layers? That's crazy. Here we go, finally, the spikes. Let me guess, these are just a simple stretched slope? Really? You did it like that? Really? Because I know the idea here is that you get this color, and then you take the opacity of that color to 0. 90% of this does not exist, and then you just keep the outline there. And I guess that creates a triangle. And then there's a red circle glow and a red triangle glow on top of that. And that's basically the spikes. And total it makes this, there's a lot that went into this. A lot. You know, I'm looking at Roselyna's stuff now, and it turns out that they're basically the person who makes realistic art in GD. I'm looking at some of this stuff, and it looks pretty much like artwork, but it's done in Geometry Dash. Made in part in better in Nore as well. And of course it's the best looking part. This part in a way kind of looks similar to the first part of the level. The art style just feels a little bit more smeary, I guess. Not that that's a bad thing. Okay, so here's our default brick that they used, with just a mixture of these. And then we have the textures that are put on top of them, and which are, well, a lot of textures. They're all just this block apparently, in just different colors on top of each other, or like around each other. This, and then they shrunk it and put it on top of it. And they just did that just all along here to create all these layers, along with these little string parts which I can't really see, which I guess are meant to be cracks in the rock. Mostly paint objects. Yeah, paint objects and these strings. Although this was made in 2.1, so the string objects would be from here. And then once again, a whole bunch of just strings on top of these spikes here. And then we've got the generic rock texture, and then cracked, and then some cracked textures, because of course, we're gonna have cracked textures. No way, these strings on top of strings on top of strings to create a custom ground texture? Ground cover texture? That's crazy. On the backing here, We have a whole bunch of wood blocks, as well as the basic ground spikes. And then this is just all of our little leaf bits, moss bits, and more grass, skulls, which I think is a skull with a skull on top of it, and paint objects all around it. Lots of paint objects. What do these paint objects actually do? Plenty. They do plenty. Damn, you can't even just go and place a skull and be done with it. No, you have to add a whole bunch of paint objects as well. Not if you're working with the purgatory. Let me guess, all these are made of paint objects? It feels like it'd be that way. Nope, just a whole lot of these ziggity-zaggity lines from here, and a kind of pattern with all these paint objects just around them. And then spider webs, which I think are just made out of lines. Yep, they're just made out of basic line objects. And then bricks, which are made out of those sign objects, the stem of the sign, and then that's just circles of points on them. Pretty simple. Oh, but this is the texturing for it, and of course that's made of paint objects. And there's texturing along the chain as well in some parts. And I guess that's how they get to make those ball chains more spherical. And then here's the actual texturing for the blocks themselves, which are just the finger dash bricks mixed with the 2.0 bricks, and then some 2.1 bricks again over here. Here's where we're starting to get some glow, some atmospheric glow, and then some pink light, candles, line glow for just underneath where the candles are, and then of course some on the chain. Oh no, this is the chain itself. The chain itself is red, but it's covered in grey paint objects. And this, which is a whole lot of lines with slightly different HSVs. A glow beam. Here's some of the moss down the bottom. This to me looks like cloud objects and grass blocks. Grass, clouds, and some vines. And in total it makes this. My guess is that they got their brick texture and then they covered it in a lot of paint objects and vines and this one random cloud for some reason, which to this day I still don't know why it's there. It looks so out of place. I don't know if that's like an inside joke or something. Anyway, let's break this section down here. First layer looks like, no, we're starting straight off of the decoration, layer 1. This looks to be where our generic black glow is. The main structures, the block moss stuff, and some faded lines for some lighting around here, I guess. Okay, now let's take a look at these hands. These are made of what? One object? Indeed. All of this appears to be made out of smaller and larger versions of all of these to basically craft all the bends and everything, and then this is just part of the sign. Okay, and that's the rest of it. Damn, that looks so good, even in just this one layer. And then lots of those copy-pasted inside of each other. And then painted glow and some lines on the outside to create lighting in all the right places as well. And then you're also getting a lot of those triangle blocks from these. Wow, so it is mostly just paint blocks, and a whole lot of these make up this. And then the eyes are like literally made with fire, plus some fading lines that kind of look a bit like lasers. These are what? I didn't even know that type of block exists. Well, that's the perfect block to put on the outside for a paint object for your bricks. Massive paint objects along here, not sure what they're doing though. And then these are just all the cracked blocks along this statue here. And these are the archways and designs on the blocks, which are made basically out of simple curves, just copy pasted on top of each other with slightly different color likenesses. And then once again, these things again, just along here. And these much the same, just lines, and some inner glow, and a dark glow for contrast. Okay, as for these banners, that's a lot of paint objects. No wonder the tapestry looks like that. And then these are just a whole bunch of lines. Lots and lots of lines. Man, to be able to do good art deco, you have to be very good at knowing where exactly to place paint objects. And know pretty much exactly how light works. And then we've got our moss. And the one cloud, which is on its own layer. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this part. I feel like a lot of this is just design work, and that is a lot to be putting on one layer. How many layers is this made out of? Actually not a lot. a lot of the layers past 5 are just little incidental things like cobwebs or what have you. A lot of it is just on 4 layers, and layer 0 looks absolutely chocker. This is not going to be fun to break down. As for in here, we've got some animated objects in the tiles. I guess that's for the shadow of the fire. And we've got lines outside here for the glow. A lot of these little building things are actually made of individual lines, like it's fully made from scratch, from what I can tell. Oh, that's what that circular glow around that is. That's actually just a very low transparency fireball. See? Fireball. As for the curtain here, so that's just a red object with a whole bunch of black glow objects around it. Now how does this mustache work? Oh wow, once again it's just made from individual little blocks just around things. All these individual corner pieces which are filled in with literally more corner pieces. Wow. As for this knight's helmet, how's that put together? With paint objects, lots of paint objects. And corner pieces. It kind of looks like OldSpace. I mean, I can't really tell because the layering in this section it's pretty much all on one layer, so it's very hard for me to break down why what was put where. But from what I can see, this looks to be, I had a vision in mind already for what this looked like, and I drew it on paper, and then I drew it in Geometry Dash with individual objects, and then covered in the rest of it with like paint objects and filled in all of the outlines, yeah, or at least those bespoke pieces. Up here, those are like normal 2.0 bricks, and then these are probably just normal bricks with like a few textures around the edges, and then this looks to be much the same sort of ball spike design I've seen everywhere else in the level. This looks like some background bricks, and then some cracked textures and some other 2.0 bricks. And then here's where and some outlining glow, a few swirls around that orb. And then this is our red glow. And our background 2.1 bricks. No way, it's the first person to put like the proper matching outlines around 2.1 bricks. This is a first. Never thought I'd see the day. And there's our bottom glow. I haven't seen bottom glow in a section for a very long time. This is actually coming off rather traditional, actually, in the way it's being put together. And that's our glow beam from the light through the window. More light through the window. There's a lot of glow in this. Rain even? I feel like I'm missing something. Is that it? No, apparently that is really just it. There is nothing else. Oh right, I'm stupid. It's all on layer 0. Everything's on layer 0. Yeah, so these are the inner cracks, and some that was put on the outside as well. And then these spikes, it's just a spike with some of those ones where you get rid of the base and just keep the detail, and then color saturations on one side and the other side. Yeah, it is basically just the 2.1 bricks with some cracks, some of these outlines, some of these deeper cracks they're physically added on, and some grass. That's pretty much it with the decoration of this section, at least from what I can see. But what are these roses? What is that? I don't know a single animated object that goes in and out like that. Oh, that's genius! Putting all these little dragons inside each other, and then that makes the roses that go in and out. Wow! Actually, just while we're here, let's take a look at this gargoyle. So it seems to be made out of a collection of those edge moss bricks, paint objects, and some blue block outline stuff. You literally go and take away this one block, and his face falls apart. Wow. What is this even made out of? I don't even recognize that texture. What even is that texture? Doesn't even make sense. It's one of these. Just shrunk down. As for these pillars, they are made from lines, paint objects, circles, dark glow around the outside, and cracked objects. Nothing incredible. Okay, I'm just gonna move on because I do not want to be looking at this thing all day. There's so much in here. Once again, this looks to be one of the creators who puts basically the entire part on One layer. I don't know what the strategical value to putting all your everything you did on one layer is, apart from making it very hard to edit later on. These are made out of what block? Well, it appears the answer is maybe not a block, because that looks to be like a stone texture, the finger dash stone texture, and then on the inside they put these 3D objects, and then that's like the inside texture for this. And then there's some stones along here, some grass which appears to be made out of a mixture of cracked objects and grass objects. As for the outlines here, they appear to be these same outlined objects, just making everything look very wobbly. And it looks to be the same thing for what they did with these spikes as well. In fact, they put those lines inside lines. They did the same spike, but then they shrunk it down and then decreased the opacity in there as well. Well, I suppose that's one way to do a morning star. As for the skull, it's really hard to tell because once again, it's on one layer. But it looks like they drew it out of lines and then they filled it in and then covered it in that lava texture. And then these are made out, and then the clothing that's remaining on them is made of grass objects. You know, I've noticed in this section there's a surprising lack of paint objects. It looks like for the generic color scheme, they put giant blocks around here just to get the general color scheme and the shape, I guess. And then here is where they started putting in all the details. Lots of texturing going on around here. Actually, these spike chains look ridiculously good. I've got to break these down. Yeah, and they're made out of those objects again, with a variety of opacities. And then I'm guessing of this, yep, it's a circle, inside a circle, inside a circle, inside a circle. And then they get brighter and brighter and brighter. And that's the idea of those chains. And then once again, it's the 2.1 brick design, with those lines added in them and on the outside, along with some of that block moss but faced inwards towards the bricks. And then for the circular bit around here, there's a whole bunch of block, like 3D block objects around here from the 3D menu, along with various other just little rocks. And these crystals, are they done using any special means, or are they just, yeah, just the details of the visible details of larger invisible blocks, with some triangle glow and circle glow. As for this one, yep, it's the same thing, just the detail of a larger block. That's what pretty much all these crystals are. Oh, that's cool. First time we're using these blocks properly from 2.0, creating like a custom brick structure here, and then you put the cracked textures on the front, and then cover the rest of the blocks with, I don't know what these are, these wooden materials, but with like other finger dash rock parts. And the rest is just glow outline. I don't remember if the rain falls or not. The rain probably does fall, but it looks like the rain in this case is made of fading lines instead of the animated rain texture. So I guess in that way you get better frames per second, especially if you're looking at the end screen. That's probably pretty good. As for layer 0, we have the majority of the glow and the shading on our little figure, and swirls as well. I didn't actually expect to see swirls, but I guess that's what's going on here. And then here I think this is the outline of the figure, and then what's this? I have no clue. There's the castle in the background, the outline of the castle, the silhouette I mean, and then more castle silhouette. And here's the cracked textures mixed in with some other things. I can't select them, I can only select the cracked texture. No, maybe it is. Okay, more cracked texture up here. How are you getting those curves for the texture? You're just bending the squares just around where all those circles are. And up here, and along here. Cracked textures everywhere. Oh, here's some of the pillar textures. Some more finger dash textures. Lots of finger dash textures. Finger dash textures appear to be the bread and butter of art decoration. Some of this down here, which... oh, there's a lot, actually. I don't even know what this is doing. I think some of the layers in here are just beyond me, but as a whole it makes this. As a whole, I have to say this is a very, very impressive level from a decoration standpoint, and I've learnt a lot from taking a look at this level and seeing how it was made, and I hope you have too. And that's the end of my video on the decoration of Silent Acropolis.